What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in. This is Tom Hickey from 2020 Media, and you are listening to NBT Bank's On the Scene podcast, reaching over 250,000 readers of the West Hartford magazine, Jewish Ledger, weha.com, live 24/7, 365. Before we introduce today's guest, I'd like to introduce my co-hosts, Bob Carr. Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Hi, Tom. Tom Hickey, along with myself, Kaushik Makati, and Ronnie Newton, is a founder and partner in weha.com. Tom brings to West Hartford the Connecticut Jewish Ledger, West Hartford Magazine, which is West Hartford's original lifestyle magazine, the various tastes of West Hartford, the best of West Hartford, which is coming up on its 11th anniversary this year, and a lot of other fun events throughout the year. Our podcast is assembled and posted by the Modern Observer Group of Middletown, Connecticut. And today our guest is Justin Cote, Vice President at Hitchcock Printers in New Britain, Connecticut. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So I was just talking about this just before we got on, and I was doing some thought process. My brain was working the other day, and I thought, how many printers have I worked for in Connecticut? And then, how many are still in business? And of the first six, only Hitchcock still exists. So and I worked for Hitchcock in 91 through 96. So everybody else, all the other six, have closed or been absorbed. Most of them have been closed and absorbed. So what do you attribute that success rate for Hitchcock? I mean, it predates you, obviously.
Yeah, very true. So Hitchcock's been in business. This is our 121st year.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, 1904. So I think a lot of our success has been due to we try to stay with industry trends, and we invest in very talented people. So our workforce is very talented. Our average time in the workforce for our employees is roughly somewhere between 20 to 25 years experience. We're also getting younger, so we have an apprenticeship program that we're running, and we regularly invest in equipment. So we're always out there looking to see what we can do to bring our costs down, make ourselves more efficient as far as where the industry is going. Those few things have really helped us stay relevant and helped us stay healthy as a business.
One of the things that you mentioned there, the apprenticeship program. One of what I noticed at the end of my career in print is that many of the folks who were in it for 30, 35, 40 years, and a lot of them were retiring or, just aging out of the process or dying off, literally. So how do you, what do you attribute the success of your apprenticeship program, and how did you come up with the idea?
So we've partnered, luckily being in New Britain, we have New Britain High School, which has a very good technical program over there as well. So we're in contact with the technical program over there. And we also have CCSU as a pipeline. So we have 10 CCSU alumni working here at Hitchcock Printing. CCSU still runs a graphic arts program over there, which is also very beneficial to us. So that's been a very valuable pipeline. Very good partnership for us over there. And then on top of that, I'm sure Bob can speak to this, but there's, as far as the production end of print, the best way is to actually work in a print shop. There's really nowhere else that you're going to go and learn. There's very few universities that have offset printing equipment, folders, and things like that on their floor. So we like to try to bring people in on the ground up, whether right out of high school or right out of college, and get them working with one of those people that have 30, 35 years experience. Let them work with them for 2 or 3 years and learn the ins and outs.
Very cool. So Tom and I both have print backgrounds. Tom was at in-print newspapers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
and
awesome.
Justin, you just reminded me, if you can bear with me for 1 second, one of my favorite stories about my mentor, Chris Larson, when I was working 50% in print, 50% in publishing.
Okay.
And I was one of those guys. I was, still am a marketing guy, but was a marketing guy back then too. And so I'd come up with all these ideas back in the late 80s of, let's add 4-color, let's add, let's do this, special, different stock, to differentiate, a special section from the regular run of the newspaper. So I'd come up with all these ideas. And finally, one day, he sent me to the plant, which at that time was in North Haven, Connecticut. And oh my gosh, they beat the crap out of me, for a week, because they're like, okay, first of all, I made the mistake of showing up the first day with a suit on and a white shirt. So that didn't go over very well.
Yep. Yeah, I can imagine.
But then they're like, okay, here's the guy with all these bright ideas. Let's show him what it means, when we're adding 4-color or we're changing stock. And I'm telling you, it was the greatest thing I ever did because, he probably knew that sending me there, but I certainly didn't appreciate it, when I was there until after the fact. But I learned all the ins and outs. I could never do any of it, because they were truly craftsmen. They were really artists, in what they were doing. But it was a real rude awakening, and I'm so thrilled that I did it because I really understood, what it meant when I said, oh, let's add 10,000, copies in a different stock, to this project. Anyway, that's what you made me think of when you were talking about, and Hitchcock. I just remember Hitchcock being a name forever, as one of those printing companies but 104 years is why. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, we've been very blessed with the longevity of the company as well. And like partnering off of what you just said, I was very lucky here. I started off as a receptionist, and I've worked through the plant every step of the way up until I became vice president. So the knowledge that I learned going through every step of the process has really paid off and helped as far as what's difficult, trying to steer customers in the right direction, because I've been on the floor. Maybe this will work better. Maybe this is a more cost-effective option. Having that knowledge from being on the floor is invaluable. And we've done the same thing with our customer service reps. A lot of them have worked on the floor at one point or another to help with their knowledge base.
And if anybody could, walk away with something, out of listening to this podcast, I would like to say, and I'm going to sound like an old fart, fuddy dud when I say this, but I'd like them to think about what it is that we just said, taking the time to learn the business, regardless, we weren't getting paid. If I ever told you what I was getting paid, my father thought I was crazy. But you paid your dues, right? It was the blood, sweat, and the tears, that got you to where you are, today. And young people just don't do that enough, or don't understand, the value of doing that, which I think is very unfortunate. But
I think a lot of organizations don't promote it. I know that from
good point.
My wife's career on banking, that folks were kind of putting this. They weren't trained to know the next job down the line. Which, one of the things that, back to what Tom was saying a little bit earlier, and I want to get into this a little bit, is what are the challenges you have now, Justin? Is that the fact that people have are so far away removed from the print process, right? The actual client using things like Canva to create design, which can work really well on the web, but it doesn't work well.
Yep, you read my mind.
So what are the pitfalls? Give us some pitfalls.
Canva has been definitely tough for us. Luckily, there's some pro options for Canva that allow them, the one big downfall is with Canva is everything's set for RGB, where in commercial print, we use CMYK. And
so explain those two things. So we know what they mean. So
so RGB is what you would expect from an output for a computer screen, and that's red, green, blue. You use those 3 base colors to create your 4-color output for a computer screen. The build for commercial print, when you put ink on paper, is a little bit different. It's CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So a lot of times when you get a Canva file that's RGB and you convert to CMYK, it changes your color output because you're using different bases to build your final color. And what we try to do is steer our customers to, hey, you need to set the files that you send to a CMYK so that your color expectations match what you're expecting. And with that as well, bleeds and things like that, you have to have the artwork past the edges of where you're printing. A lot of people don't know that you need to do that. They think, oh, I'm printing 8.5 11. Let me size it right, 8.5 right at 8.5 by 11. Well, we need a little bit over the edges so we have somewhere to trim. So you get all your artwork on there and you get what you expect. And those are some of the pitfalls with using something like Canva is that's lost. People don't have that knowledge to know to do those things.
I don't get too wonky here, but one of the things that people you have to recognize with print versus a computer screen is one is transparent, it's been lit from behind, and one is
Yes.
when you're on paper, it's being reflective. So it's the reflective versus transparent and how you're seeing that as well. So the goal here is if you're going to use Canva, use the Canva Pro. If you're going to use it for printing,
Correct.
ask your printer about things like bleed, because that's something that's unusual. The terminology that's unusual, and what that allows people to do, as Justin just said, is to have the ink look like it's going to infinity. Otherwise, it has to come within an eighth of an inch of the edge of the paper at least, because paper stretches. It gets stretched when it goes through the press.
Yep.
Because you use water, you use heat, and so it creates all kinds of other issues. It's not created to run as a one-off. So
Yeah, that's a great point. As a great point, make it look like it's printing to infinity. That's a great way to put it.
that's why I was a salesman for a long time.
Bob, if you don't mind, I'd love to have
sure.
Justin we're midway, believe it or not, already, on the podcast. So if someone wants to reach out to you at Hitchcock, Justin, how do they reach you?
So the best way to do that is you can go to our website, hitchcockprinting.co. It's not .com anymore. It's .co. We've actually just relaunched a brand new website. If you want to email us directly, it's info@hitchcockprinting.com. We have a full customer service team that can help with any inquiry. We do full commercial print from letterheads, envelopes, business cards, things like that, all the way up to major publications. We've got started to dabble into wide format a little bit, things like posters and magnets and things like that. Basically, if it's ink on some kind of substrate, we can help you out. So that's probably the best way to put it.
Great, thanks.
Where will you find West Hartford's best and most comprehensive business news? At weha.com. Subscribe to the weha.com newsletter Business Buzz for free every Monday at weha.com. Log on to we-ha.com. We have it all in West Hartford.
One of the things that I point out here just after that is that after I retired in 2021, a number of my customers asked me to continue to work with them. And so at that point, I've contacted, we had worked, the company I worked for had worked with Hitchcock. Previously, I'd worked with Hitchcock, obviously, since 1991. And so I brought a few of the clients along. We went over there, and they've done a great job handling the work that my customers. I haven't had one complaint in 3.5 years from anyone who's worked with Hitchcock. So that's my endorsement of Hitchcock printers at this point in time. So,
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's been a good relationship with us, and I appreciate the work you guys do. And I go back into if you wouldn't mind, talk a little about the investments that you've made, because that's important. A lot of printers, again, going through the list of people I talked about earlier, the 5 that are out of business, a lot of printers look at their equipment once it's paid off as, oh, it's free, but it actually costs them money every time they keep it on the floor. They haven't upgraded their equipment. And talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we found that as well. That's a great point. Is some of our folding equipment was had been brought in here in the 1980s, and it was still getting the job done. It was still producing, but the newer equipment was just producing at such a faster rate than what we had in the shop here. So we've upgraded pretty much across the board. We've invested in higher speed digital printing machines, which has helped, and advanced our inline digital printing capability. For instance, we can do books right in line on the digital machines now, where you're talking about a saddle stitched book. It's coming off done rather than having to go through the bindery. We have a 40-inch 4-color press, which has really helped. We used to only be a 29-inch shop, and now we're a 40-inch shop. We've invested in a mini folder. So pharmaceutical folding is something that we can do now. We found a hole in the market for that. We offer that to a lot of our customers as well. And we try to at least have 1 or 2 capital investments a year. That's kind of the mentality now, whether it's our truck, our folders, our printing presses, our digital presses. Like you said, Bob, just making that small investment in the newer equipment, you gain so much more speed that you can offer your customers a better price because you're increasing your rate that you can produce product. So that's a commitment that we've made, especially over the past 4 years, and it's really helped us quite a bit.
To piggyback on that, I mentioned the 3 printers that I last worked for. All of them make heavy investments in their equipment. So to your credit, to Hitchcock's credit, and to the other folks that I had worked for over the last part of my career, that investment is really key. That investment
Yes.
is really key to making, because print has in order to be successful in print, you have to evolve and change, and that was, I think, one of the problems with the industry. So so you're into direct mail, quite a bit direct mail. So
Yeah.
uh, near and dear to my heart as my career. Tom and I did a lot of direct mail stuff together.
Yeah.
So what are the efficiencies there? How do you save money for folks on postage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
So as far we have full pre-sorting capabilities, which is great. So if you come to us for a direct mail project, we do the mail processing, we do the pre-sorting before we go to the post office, which saves a ton of money, whether you're doing marketing mail or whether you're doing first class mail. And what that means is basically we sort the mail to get it in the best order it can be for the post office to get you the best discount. So if you're paying, I forget what a first class stamp is now, 78 cents, that goes down into the 60-cent range. If you do a commercial project with us, we can sort it and get the postage rate lower for you. Um, we've also invested in equipment. Our inkjetting equipment is a lot more high output. I believe our maximum output a day for mail, we're over 1 million pieces now. I want to say we can probably do about 1.1 million a day if we had to. So, and that could be across our whole client base. Uh, and we're doing well in the 20 millions a year for how many pieces of mail go out the door. So direct mail is a very big part of our business now. Yep.
What do you say to people, Justin, and not to put you on the spot, but you had to know that I'm sure you're asked the question every day. Now, you could direct mail to 10,000, targets, or you could go on a wild social media campaign and reach 100,000 people. What do you say to people who, or how do you combat that objection from, geez, I'd but I'd be reaching 10,000 people through direct mail or 100,000, through digital. How do you compete with that?
I mean, that's a great question. So I guess it comes down to what we found over the years, and they have a lot of these studies too. And I always try to tell my customers this too, is that the response rate from direct mail still to this day is always higher than the click rate for an email campaign. And it's tough to say why that is, maybe because we get so many more emails and we get a little bit less direct mail, like actual physical mail in our hands. Or it could be that people prefer to have the physical mail in their hands. But you can get up to if you get up to a 3% response rate with direct mail, that's not out of the norm. But with an email campaign, you're kind of closer to the 1% response rate. So you get a little more bang for your buck with direct mail.
Okay.
That's one thing. And the other thing too is, the more you can put a call to action on your direct mail piece, the better. If you have something like a coupon on there or a QR code that can direct you to the website, make it easier for your customer to find you, give them the tools to, still do the direct mail, but maybe use the computer on the other end. We also find a lot of people are doing, multifaceted approaches where they're doing direct mail as their first outreach, and then they're following up with an email and they're finding better response rates with that. So kind of doing, spreading yourself across both avenues is really the best way to go.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, very helpful.
Yeah, I was going to say that if I was designing a direct mail campaign, and at the end of the last couple of years of my career, I did this a bit, where you geo-target via digital, and then you geo-target via your mail. You can hit neighborhoods, you can hit streets, so it's like every door direct mail. So you can pick a whole neighborhood, and then you can make sure that everyone on that neighborhood, that IP address, gets some sort of ad that rolls. I mean, I realize people find this invasive, but those ads roll in off your your phone or your desktop. You know, you were just talking yesterday about I'm thinking about going to California, and amazingly, I mean, just thinking about it, almost it sounds like I just thought about it. But I mentioned it to my wife, and all of a sudden, I'm getting all this stuff about California, which is just scary. But on the other side of it, from a neighborhood standpoint, you could target my neighborhood. You could target every house on this street with both a digital campaign as well as a mail campaign, and they do feed to each other. Oh, I would do mention that one of the things that is part of those studies is haptics, which is the touch, feel, how your brain reacts to feel. So when you get a piece of mail, you feel it, you see it, you react to it differently. It's much more inclusive of more of your senses than would be a digital piece. And you have to. I always said to people back when, I hate to keep to compound this, but back when I started, versus the internet, my first job I lost to the internet was in 1991. I worked for United Technologies Corporation. They were a client of mine, and they were doing a newsletter, and they sent it out. They told me they were going to send it out via email, which I had never really heard of. And that's the first time I ever lost a job to. So I've lost a long time. That's So I'm early adopter of saying it to people. You need to be able to feel it as well as it. How many people actually read it now?
Yeah.
Right. If you're sending something electronically, how many people actually read it versus it's printed? Now there's cost differences there, but one of the things that I'm very passionate about is having something in your hands.
I agree 100%. It's funny that you mentioned that. It's maps was one of the things that we found with universities and schools and things. They had gone electronic with their maps, and we lost those things for, I would say, a better part of 5 years. That all started to come back because people wanted paper maps when they were walking around the facility. Instead of having their cell phone out in front of them, actually have something paper, so that way they could see where they were going. And that's one of the things we noticed. That specific piece was one thing that came back.
Tom?
I was just going to ask, is there anything, believe it or not, we're almost out of time. Is there anything, Justin, that you would, I told you we'd go fast. Is there anything that you see as sort of, you want to leave people with an impression of, a trend or a wave for the future, or anything, like that based on your own experience at Hitchcock?
I think the trend for the future is just, the direct mail has been coming back. We've been finding that a lot of people that have had bad email response campaigns have gone back to direct mail, and they've fallen back to that, and it's improved. So there's still a lot of proof out there. There's a lot of direct mail out there. The post office has also helped because they've realized that they can help the customers and the consumers. They offer a lot of incentives throughout the year to try to bring the postage costs down. So there's a lot of things working in your favor if you wanted to do something like a direct mail campaign. And then, the other thing that we find is just, turning things around as quickly as we can for customers. Time is a very important thing. So if we can get your project in and out in as timely as a fashion as we can, so that way you can have your product that you need it. That's one of the things that we're really trying to do, and one of the trends that we really try to stick to.
I want to actually follow up on that last piece. One of the things that I like working, one reason I like to work with Hitchcock and have liked working with them since I've retired, is that that's one part that has changed in the industry. The industry, in order to become more profitable, has taken the time frame and made it the customer's problem. And
Yes.
I found working with you and work specifically with Hitchcock that is not the case. That time is, you understand that the time is important, that it's important to the client, and you're very, very transparent about the time frames. But in every case, I haven't had one time where you've come back and said, it's not within our SLAs, SLC, whatever the hell they're your standard operating procedures, right?
Yep.
Which too many printers, and to make profitable, I understand they do it, but you're missing the boat with your customer service when you don't look at time as an important factor for a client.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We found that, time time is very important to our customers. Very important.
Yeah. What do we say all the time? Time is money, right? There you
Yep.
go. There you go. Absolutely. So, Justin, how do people reach out to you if they have any other questions after listening to us on this podcast?
So email is always the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay.
I wear a lot of hats here, but my email here is JCOT as in Tom E at hitchcockprinting.com. That's a great way to get a hold of me. And then info at hitchcockprinting.com. That leads you right to our customer service team. We have a great team here. If I can't help you, which I probably will be able to, but my customer service team is definitely able to help you as well.
Great. Well, thank you, Justin, for joining Bob and I this morning, and thank you to all of our loyal listeners. And please support Hitchcock Printing for all of your needs. And Justin will be there to answer any questions that you may have. Please don't forget to support our presenting sponsor of the On the Scene podcast, who is NBT Bank. Thank you, NBT Bank. And be safe and be well. In the meantime, we will look for you on the scene.
Thank you so much.
What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.